Alright, let's get exploring. So, exploring in Eve is all about space. Space, says the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, is big. Really big. You just won't believe how vastly, hugely, mind-bogglingly big it is. Space in EVE Online is really big. There are a whopping 7,930 systems in EVE Online, and they're separated into 4 types of space. 1,090 of those are high security, 817 are low security, 3,500 are null security, and 2,500 are wormholes. Wormhole space is weird. High security is any system with a 0.5 or higher security rating. In this space, if you shoot someone or attack a system or set off certain types of modules, attacking system infrastructure will cause Concord, or the Space Police, to show up and blow up your ship. Because nothing says justice like blowing up your ship. Then there's low security space, which is security space with a rating of 0.1 to 0.4 security. In this space, the police don't really come by too often. It's like those regions of certain metropolitan areas that have a higher crime rate, where, the police maybe aren't so diligent about their checks out of, fears for personal security and so on. Those spaces in EVE are also likewise those areas where combat is likely to ensue at any and all times, so be forewarned. If you want to engage in PvP, this is definitely the best area to start out, other than nullsec. Nullsec is the Wild West. This is an area with a 0.0 or lower security rating. There is a lot more of nullsec than any other type of space, and nullsec space is pretty much do what you want. The great thing about nullsec space is that this is also the area where the big alliances tend to operate. These are the areas where you can own systems and you can set up infrastructure to own that space, and where you can basically rule your little fiefdom like a tiny god. Then there's wormhole space. Wormhole space has all the advantages of nullsec, except it's weird. You can only get into and out of wormhole space through wormholes, ergo the name. And those spaces have security ratings sitting at about a -1 or in the nullsec range of 0.0 and lower. Wormhole space has some unique properties, like the fact that names do not show up in local chat unless you chat, and then it falls off after a certain amount of time. So you don't necessarily know who's in that hole with you. Ergo, wormhole space is weird. Wormhole space is extremely lucrative for certain types of industry and activity, and you can make a lot of money living there, but it's definitely not for the faint of heart. If you're interested in eventually going into wormhole space, I would get yourself into nullsec pretty quickly and start learning how to live out where there are no rules. In EVE Online, 230 of the systems available are Jove, and you can't go there. The Jove, who are a species of super advanced humans, have basically closed off their gates, like Japan in the feudal era. You can't go there. Space in EVE Online is measured in astronomical units. That's the distance from Earth to our Sun, or 149,600,000 kilometers. So yeah, space in EVE is big. Astronomically big, literally. The largest system in EVE is the wormhole system Thera. The smallest system in EVE is 0M TAC 24X in Ethereum reach, just 1.5 AU in diameter. That's 1.5 times the distance from the Earth to the Sun. The longest warp systems in the game are 9TAC2 66Q in nullsec at 283 AU from gate to gate. You do not want to take that in a industrial or a slow-moving mining barge. You will probably die. Same thing happens in Relera, 180 AU and almost 180 AU in HiSec in Rhone to go from one gate to the other at the longest warp. So why go exploring in all this huge, gigantic space? Why? Because there are fun things to see. What kind of fun things? Things like shattered planets. No, seriously, there are a lot of them. These are just some of the ones that you'll find in high, low, and null, and there's another 670 to be found in wormhole space. So, what can you see in all that space other than shattered planets? Well, you can see monuments. No, not this monument. These monuments. You can also find things like data sites. Handy little towers where criminal organizations have decided to stash their data out where nobody's going to go looking for it. Except you, maybe. You can also see standing stone circles, not unlike these ones at Callanish in northern Scotland, but not these ones. These ones. We don't know who built them or why, but they're out there in space, and this is just one of those sites that you can go and find. There are many like it, but this one is mine. You can also find these amazing floating stone and metal research facilities floating out there in space. Who knows who built them? Who knows why? But this one looks like a giant mass accelerator just spinning out there in space. These are sites that you can explore. Or you can go to sites where the Kianoke virus has broken out, and you can see the research facilities that the Capsuleer corporations and the factions have set up to investigate what's going on and to hopefully cure this horrible blight that turns your insides to liquid faster than Ebola on race car fuel. So what do you need to get out there and do some exploring and do some hacking and accessing cans? Well, you need a exploration ship. A good one to use is the Astero. So let's show you a little bit about scanning. Scanning in EVE Online is pretty easy. Basically, you just get yourself into a scanning vessel. This is an Astero. Asteros are fantastic for scanning. However, in every race, there is a basic scanning vessel. If you open up your ship browser and you go to your starting race, you will find that in each starting frigate class, there is one which is bonused for core and combat scanner probe strength, as well as relic and data analyzer virus strength. This is true for the Caldari, where you have the Heron, the Galente, where you have the Imicus, and the Minmatar, where you have the probe. Each race also has a Tech 2 variant of that. In the Covops class, for the Amar, it's the Anathema. For the Caldari, it's the Buzzard. For the Galente, it's the Helios. And for the Minmatar, it's the Cheetah. Now, the advantage of these is that they can fit a Covops cloaking device, which allows you to warp around while cloaked. So you can get out there and safely scan from a safe position. If you have Galente and Amar frigates trained to 5, you can very easily operate the Sisters of Eve frigate, the Astero. I recommend having these trained to at least 3 before you try to get into the Astero, and you also want to have your cloaking and Covops trained all the way up to 5, if possible. The advantage of the Astero is that it gets significant bonuses to relic and data analyzer virus strength, and it fits the Covops cloaking device. It also has a much reduced cloaking delay, so the reduction's quite nice there. The other advantage to the Astero is that it gets a 20% per level increase to drone hit points. The Astero is an extremely tanky little vessel and is actually one of the better frigate-sized PvP vessels in the game. So how do you go scanning out in an Astero? Well, it's pretty easy. To start with, you're going to start with the basic Astero here. And the standard setup is get yourself a Corporal launcher, or in this case a Sisters Corporal launcher, your Covops cloaking device, your Afterburner to increase your speed in getting around, a relic or data analyzer, and then if you want some extra scan finding arrays and acquisition arrays, just to increase the speed at which you scan. I've got a little bit of tank here, damage amplifier for my drones, a auxiliary thrusters to help increase my speed for getting around in sight so I can run them quickly, and just some extra tank buffer. There are some pretty skins for flying in the Astero, and a lot of people really like these for how pretty they are. I think it's honestly one of the most beautiful ships in the game, but I'm really looking forward to the Foxtrot skin, which is the next one coming out for these, which is red and black and kind of looks like tiger stripes. It was announced at FanFest. Really looking forward to the release of that one. The standard Astero is this typical white and red, and it is a beautiful badass looking little ship. So, getting down to scanning. All you're going to do is start by undocking, get out there, and go looking. Now, how you start with going to look for sites is you want to make sure you have your probe scanner open, and you typically want to be operating from a safe. Safes are easy to set up. I'm not going to show you how to do that. I cover it in another video. But you're going to set a bookmark up in space in a place which is unaligned from other planets and not between two gates. It makes you very easy to find. Don't do that. But you're going to open up your probe scanner. If you don't have it open already, I'll show you how to open it. And once you get to your safe, you're going to load your core probe launcher, or have it loaded for when you get there. When you get there, launch your probes, like so. Boop. And your probes are out. Open your scanners, go to your probe scanner, or press Alt and P. Choose a default spread, so I'm going to say spread formation, analyze, and then I'm going to cloak. Once I've clicked analyze, those probes are going to warp off to various points around the system, and they are going to start scanning. What that looks like is visible in your solar system map. Now, when you first start exploring in EVE Online, you're probably not going to see your solar system map looking like this. It's pretty easy to modify. What will happen is you'll start with your solar with your probe scanner docked in the solar system map, which is fine. Typically, I like to have mine undocked, and how you'd manage that is just click this little button here that says open in a separate window, at which point you can drag it around and re-anchor it somewhere else. You can see from this that I currently have 8 probes in strength. They have 1 hour and 6 minutes until they disappear, so if I leave these in space, they will just simply disintegrate. They're not designed for longevity. And I have some basic details here about my scan strength. So my base value is 44. Between skills and the modifiers that I get from my launcher and the fact that these are faction probes, I get a pretty significant bonus, raising it up to about 100 points, 95.8 points of scan strength. I also have a scan deviation of less than 1 meter, so 0.01 or 0.08 AU, which means that my scan deviation is honestly going to be pretty short. And it's going to take about 6 seconds, 6.1 seconds to do a scan. So each time I hit analyze, that scan cycle takes about 6 seconds to run. Now I can filter my results based on my current overview settings, or I can just take a look at this here and I can see what are my various results. Well, I've got 5 sites which are combat sites. And right now I'm in faction warfare space, so more than a couple of these are combat sites which can be found just by, opening up the probe scanner or looking around in space and warping to them. This here, the Besieged Covert Research Facility, is a combat site that has containers which can be hacked. Asteroid sites will be marked with this OR site icon. What I'm looking for when I'm scanning is these red locations. So how I can filter this to hide these other results is I can hide anomalies. Now if I want to look at the details of just one of these, so I really want to peel in on just one of these, I can click on just one and it will highlight that one to let me know that I've got a little bit of deviation here, and it's possibly in one of these two places. That's why it's showing 2 dots. So what I'm going to do is change my orientation to a pinpoint formation, and I'm going to change my probe scan area using this slider at the bottom. I can also mouse over this field and grab the edge of these bubbles to drag them manually, but it's going to snap to one of these sizes anyways, so using the probe size slider at the bottom really is one of the better ways to do it. Now you can see just by clicking and dragging I can move this around. What I'm going to do is just grab these arrows to move this around, or I can grab the cube itself. But I want to make sure, right now I'm looking straight down on top of it. I'm going to try and position over as big an area as possible so I'm capturing both these points within it. Now I can use my cursor to change my perspective so that I can see, is this on the right height? Do I need to adjust where it's sitting in space to really capture the area of effect here? I can also really quickly snap between these 2 perspective angles here just by clicking on these various scenes. Once I hit analyze with my probes overlapping the new area, those are going to scan, and from all around it, clustered around that area, that center pocket, it's going to give me an updated idea of where that is at. And now I can actually see that all 3 of these sites here are clustered around this 5th planet. So I've decided I'm going to focus on this one first. So I'm going to drop my scan size down, and I'm going to change my angle so that I can say I'm going to scan right around it, make sure it's centered, and analyze again. And I can see from my results here that that scan result has gotten a little bit stronger, so I'm really going to need to continue to scan that down farther. Okay, so now I've identified that this is a relic site. But I still need to get in a little bit tighter, so I'm going to analyze again. And I can use my scroll wheel on my mouse to get in a little bit closer and make sure I'm really centered right on top of that. The harder to scan down a site is, typically the better the payout will be. Here I am at 1 EU probe size in terms of scan area or scan radius, and I'm at 100% activity. So I did find it. You'll notice the result here has changed from a percentage to a warp 2 symbol, which means that I have identified that location. Now I can continue scanning down these other locations, or I can just recall my probes, which I can do by clicking here. Close my solar system map, decloak, save the location of this relic site. Just so I can get back to it if I need to warp away. Reload my probe scanner so I can keep going scanning, and then just warp to it. As you warp in, you'll get this notification that you are going to a site. It's going to give you a little bit of description of the site. Ancient ruins stand silent and still in the cold vacuum of space, a somber reminder of times long since past. A relic analyzer module will be vital in gaining a deeper understanding of the numerous artifacts located here and finding something of value among the rubble. Now, analyzing relic sites requires the archaeology skill. When you've trained the archaeology skill up to 5, you're there and you'll be able to start using Tech 2 analyzers. Right now, I only have my archaeology trained to 4, which is ironic because I have a degree in archaeology in real life. But I'm going to go in and start analyzing these. Now, just like data analyzers, you need to be within 5,000 meters. So I can see here that I have these Garista's debris. These are the containers that I'm going to hack. So first thing I do is I turn my afterburner on for a single pulse, move in to within distance. I'm going to set my keep at range to just about 2,500 meters, just far enough away that I can cloak if I need to, and I'm going to start by analyzing that can. Once I do this, it's going to bring up a hacking game. Once the hacking game begins, do not click away from it because it will fail the hacking game if you do. The objective of the hacking game is to find your way to the system core so that you can hack it and open the container. Along the way, you will find active algorithms that will try to keep you from succeeding. You will also find things like this. So this is a utility subsystem, a kernel rot, which is going to weaken by 50% the resistance of the node that I'm hacking. That is particularly useful to save for hacking the system core. Now, when you find these mystery kernels here, these will often have either a defensive subsystem or another one of these subsystems within them. Here I found the system core pretty quickly, so I'm just going to attack it. And I'm in. The system hack has been successful. I can now open the container and loot the result. And there we go, 2.3 million worth of salvage. Then I'm going to go to the next container. This one is a short distance away, so I'm going to start by hacking it first. Untarget the old one, target the new one. Found another one. Crack it open. Very little value. Okay, let's go to the next one. Now, one of the things you can do is set your default keep at distance so that when you get within range, it just holds that distance. And I'm going to manually pilot around this debris so I don't get stuck on it. Something you need to be aware of. There are hunters that will sit camped on these sites cloaked up and try to grab you when you go in for the hack. These are the self-repair systems. You'll use those to repair or restore your coherence if you've been damaged. And it goes just like this. Now I'm hacking in low sec right now, so this is fairly low risk, especially in a system where most of those people here are my fellows, but there's no reason why I shouldn't be spamming D-scan. Right now, though, it looks like I'm the only one out in space who isn't cloaked. Give a single pulse on my afterburner just to get me in closer. And start my hack. So here I am again, navigating around this debris rather than getting stuck in it, and I'm going to try to approach. Kill my afterburner. And when I'm within about 5,000 meters, I'll start the hack. Get in, hack, grab the goods, and get out. And there I am, 15 million ISK worth of goods gained in a very, very short effort. Now I can either return to the safe to begin scanning again, or I can try to go back and dock up or start looking in other systems. But this is basically how scanning goes. You're either looking for data sites, relic sites, or wormholes. And that is scanning and hacking. As you've seen in that video, the goal of exploration, other than seeing the beautiful sights and all the things the art department has thrown into EVE, you will find that you are out to make ISK. You will get ISK by hacking canisters. Hacking the minigame, whether it's archaeology or data mining, is exactly the same. You're going to go in, you're going to hack some containers, you're going to fight past defensive barriers and nodes, and you're going to hack the system core. Hacking the system core will mean that the container will become unlocked and that loot will become available to you. If you want to see all of the other things that are available to be seen in EVE, I highly recommend that you follow the EVE travel blog created by Mark726. Mark726 also created a handy EVE lore survival guide. I will link the resources in the description. I definitely recommend that you follow this blog. In fact, go do it now. Thank you so much for following. I am Jurious Doctor. Like, share, subscribe, and of course recommend me to your friends. Thank you.